Hulk Hogan's dick and big taints. The Last of Us Part 1 Remake. It's a game that I still feel did not need to be remade. And neither does Angry Joe. And what he did here to roast the game is absolutely brilliant. Oh my God, I grabbed your bird breasts. I'm sorry. Skip it up and that up. Hey everybody, your favorite man with an ass is now on Cameo. You could get your own personalized video message sent directly from me to you. Link to my Cameo below in the description. I look forward to seeing you there. The Last of Us. It's a game that originally came out for the PlayStation 3 in mid-June 2013. I can't talk today. And it was remastered for the PlayStation 4 a little over a year later on July 29, 2014. And even when the PS4 Pro came out, you could play the game in 4K. But for some reason, on September 2nd, 2022, Sony and Naughty Dog, probably Sony more so because they are just thinking cha-ching, was like, hey, let's remake that game again because that's what needs to happen. And before anyone brings up Skyrim, I have roasted Skyrim incessantly on the countless times it has been re-released over and over and over again. Yes, that is even more ridiculous than this, but this is still pretty ridiculous. There was absolutely no need. And I've played the remake. I've played some of it. I'm going to play more. Jay and I, before he goes on vacation, are going to do a, I guess you could say, review of The Last of Us Part 1 Remake. I've played some of it, and I will say it is a remake of the original game with better visuals. Did I mention that it shouldn't have been remade? So anyway, Angry Joe released a review of The Last of Us Remake, but it was in a brilliant way. I have to applaud him for this because he reviewed the remastered game back in 2014 for the PlayStation 4, and he also thinks that the remake is completely useless to remake. So what he did was absolutely brilliant. He re-uploaded his remastered review again with an interesting intro, essentially mocking what Sony and Naughty Dog did with The Last of Us Remake. Take a look. It's short but incredible. So yeah, he uploaded the same review from 2014, increased the sharpening, making fun of the remake by just saying, hey, we just splashed a little bit of extra visuals here. We're going to charge you $70 for it again. And then in the bottom right corner, if you watch the YouTube video, it says remastered. I just have to applaud. I think that's the best way you could have roasted this game ever. So I know there are a lot of white knights right now defending The Last of Us Part 1 Remake really hard, okay? And I see like memes put up on Twitter where, oh, look, Nintendo releases Skyward Sword twice. Nobody bats an eye. They released it for the Wii and then they released it for the Switch, an HD version. But Sony does this with The Last of Us Part 1 and everyone's freaking out over it, saying it's unnecessary. First off, Skyward Sword came out for the Wii back in 2011, a standard definition console about a decade ago, and it was re-released for the Switch in 2021. So, more powerful hardware, running in HD, it was re-released twice. I'm not saying Nintendo doesn't milk. They're milking Mario Kart 8 to death. You've had, and I hate when all developers do this. You've had Bethesda, how many times? I can't even count how many times they've released Skyrim. And then you have Take-Two, or Rockstar, I should say, with Grand Theft Auto 5. We haven't had a new Grand Theft Auto in a decade. But It just, like, when you go back and play The Last of Us Remastered, there's differences. It is the new game is more visually impressive, as it should be. It's on more powerful hardware, but it's still the same damn game. It's still the same game, and the remastered looked pretty damn good. Look, man, I just can't help. The game screams cash grab. And then to charge $70 for it, and then they were going around saying, hey, we didn't have to crunch for this game. Of course you didn't have to crunch for The Last of Us Part 1 Remake. You had the whole game made, you just had to improve the assets. And from what I'm hearing, too, I'll find this out myself and talk about it more in the video, the AI isn't that improved either. Look, it just screams cash grab. And has there been other cash grabs out in the industry? Of course. Of course. But it doesn't mean Sony gets a pass and we shouldn't talk about this. And the thing that I don't like, too, it's already been happening since, Jesus, the 7th generation, but I see it getting worse and worse. I'm so tired of the remastered remake phase that we're going through. No, there's certain exceptions, like I'm excited for the Dead Space remake. That's one I'm excited for. It looks very promising. And, you know, the original Dead Space came out in 2008. So it's a long time ago, much longer than it's been between the gap of the original Last of Us and the Last of Us remake. But there's a lot of times these games, like, no one's asking for this. The remastered version of The Last of Us running at 4K on the PlayStation 4 was plenty. And I'm sorry, unless I play more of this game and something happens where it completely changes my tune and I do a 180 from what I've played of The Last of Us remake so far, I'm not impressed. Maybe in a couple days you'll hear a different tune from me, but this was just Sony trying to add padding, saying, hey, we have another exclusive for the PlayStation 5. I know it's coming to PC later on, but hey, you could get the remake of The Last of Us now. Now, I know there are people that are out there, though. Here's the exception. I don't want to forget about this. If you need the accessibility features, because maybe you have a visual impairment or things like that, okay, I could see the game being remade for you. But do I think that's the primary reason they remade the game? No. They remade it because it was easy, because it's a game that's already developed. They just needed to add more polish to it, and then they could sell you a $70 polished turd and say, hey, it's a completely remade game. And now because it's the 9th generation, we're going to charge $70 for a game we essentially already developed because reasons. Yes, I know there had to be time and energy put in to remake the game, but you already had the skeleton and the formula there to do it. It wasn't like you remade a game from scratch. It's totally different. This is Rich of Review Tech USA signing out. Have a good one.